Well, money's tight, but not for the International Monetary Fund. The G20 is saying yes to more funding for the IMF. They're just not saying who is going to fork over that cash. My next guest says it shouldn't be coming from the U.S. of A. to Congresswoman Kathy McMorris Rodgers. We, of course, are the biggest sponsors and funders for the International Monetary Fund, just by definition. Are you saying that should stop, Congresswoman?
Well, I think we need to have that debate at least. Most of the mainstream media hasn't been covering the fact that when you look at what's happening in the European Union bailout, that a third of it is coming from the IMF. And as you said, the United States is the largest funder of the IMF. We cover about 17%. And so if we're talking a $1.4 trillion bailout currently on the table, then historically it would be $150 billion of U.S. taxpayers' money contributing to that bailout fund. And we need at a minimum to have more transparency as to what's really happening, what the United States commitment is, and have that debate in Congress over those dollars and whether or not we want to be involved.
All right, Congressman, I'm going to give you their point of view, and those who support the U.S. role in the IMF say that it's money well spent because in the scheme of things, what we spend to help on these bailouts avoids even bigger problems down the road, that had we had these structures more organized and in place before the last financial meltdown, we wouldn't have had the costly meltdown we did. What do you say?
Well, I'd say, where does it end? Right now we're talking about Greece. Greece is 11 million people, 2% of the European Union's economy. And we have committed now over 300, the European Union bailout is over $300 billion for Greece. That's over the entire amount of their GDP. And we've already given Portugal and Italy, or Portugal and Ireland, over $100 billion. Italy and Spain aren't that far behind.
You would let it go. If Greece couldn't get its act together, Italy couldn't get its act together, Ireland and Portugal and some of these other prior bailouts couldn't get their act together, sayonara, or whatever the proper term is.
We need some tough medicine. The current path.
But the IMF says it does have tough medicine. You don't think tough enough?
It is not tough enough. It is more like what I've seen is more like what we see right here in America, where maybe it's a decrease in the rate of growth of government spending, right around the edges. But this path of record deficits, record bailouts, the Federal Reserve quantitative easing, it's making our economic crisis worse. It is deepening the hole, and it's threatening a crash around the world now as we see this kind of policy of just bailing out, record bailouts around the world.
Congressman, I don't want to jump into it, but we're getting reports that there could be a super committee deal on trimming debt over the next 10 years, maybe substantially higher than the figures we were earlier told. They need to shave about $1.5 trillion. Talk is they might have a $4 trillion deal on the table. Do you know anything about that or where this is going?
Well, I know that we are doing everything we can to get as big a deal as possible. If there ever was a time for Republicans and Democrats to have the give and take and do what's good and right for America, it is now. It is.
So if that deal included some, I guess they're calling revenue enhancements. I'm not quite sure whether that just means closing tax loopholes, getting rid of credits and the rest. Would you be for that?
I'm certainly for tax reform, anything that brings us to a fair, simpler tax code, and if it means that more would be paying under that tax system, I think that is good.
Congresswoman, thank you very, very much. Good seeing you again.
Good to be with you.
All right, speaking of money, do you need some?